Ben Jaworski, what's going on?
I'm excited to be back for another incredibly entertaining episode of Scale and Bill podcast.
Really? Are they ever incredibly entertaining?
They're always incredibly
Are they?
entertaining.
Are you
Oh, yeah,
sure?
absolutely. I've never listened to one, but I'm sure they are.
Somebody messaged me over the weekend to tell me how much they were entertained and how funny they were, and I'm like, I don't think they're funny at all. Like, Adam, that's no offense to you, and I'm certainly not
I'm a
trying to
funny
defend
guy,
myself.
John. I'm a funny guy.
Like, I don't think we ever go out of our way to try to be funny. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I don't do stand-up comedy. I do memes, and those are dumb on their own. Like, I don't know. Maybe I guess I'm grateful if people find it entertaining and funny. I just never find it funny.
Maybe they're watching the YouTube and they just like think we look funny.
Maybe.
That's it.
Well, we have a guest, Larry Thomas, on. Larry, do you think it's funny? Have you ever seen the show?
I think you guys are funny, so I think that just adds a layer of humility to the whole situation.
That was a professional way to deflect. I like that. I bet you're a great coach. I can tell already. How'd that look, Coach? Oh, for you, great.
Yeah, for that was pretty solid based on what I've seen from you before.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great answer. I like that. That's good stuff. So Larry's obviously new to the show, new to me. Ben invited you on. Larry, tell me about yourself, man. Where are you from? What do you do? Give me the dirt.
Yeah, for sure. Appreciate you guys having me on, and pleasure to be here with both of you. My name is Larry Thomas, originally from the Baltimore, Maryland area, but currently now, Ben, we both got 410 numbers still.
410, what up? I remember when he first texted me, I was like, oh my gosh, you're from Maryland?
Are you a Ravens fan? Are we going to have to go through this?
No, we're good. I'm not a Ravens fan.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, I'm a big college football guy, so no NFL allegiance.
All right, good.
Which raises some eyebrows when I say the next thing, and that I currently live in the Boston area now. So then people immediately jump to, oh, are you a Pats fan? I'm like, no, you're safe. Like,
and you went 2 for 2 with me. That makes me happy. I work for a company that's based out of Boston, and God save me if they have any kind of good sports team, because every conference calls. I mean, and I was dealing with it in the years when Brady was still there, and so every weekend it was like, oh, you would think this guy like just poops out golden eggs. Like, it was just terrible having to listen to it every single week. And thank God it's over.
And then on the opposite end, man, they lose the game and no one goes to work the next day. Like, the city's quiet. Like, it's crazy. But as far as what I'm involved in here, I am an affiliate owner. I own 2 affiliates here in the greater Boston area. I work for CrossFit HQ and training and education. So I'm on the CrossFit seminar staff doing level 1 and level 2 seminars. Prior to this year, I was actually working in gym operations as well as the affiliate rep for my region. So I spent about a year or so in that role. And then to top it all off, I am also working as the partnership manager for my region for a nonprofit organization called The Phoenix.
Man, you're busy.
I keep busy.
You are busy. You are very busy. Wait, you were at The Phoenix? We met.
Yes, we have met. I thought you were just doing that for the podcast.
Oh, man, you're killing me. Yes. I'm
John,
old, dude.
Yeah. 10 points for John.
Yeah. I thought you were just doing that for the sake of the audience.
No. It's all coming back. Look, you got to understand. I've met you at Wadapalooza. I meet a ton of people.
Yeah,
you also have early onset, various aging brain issues.
There's a very real possibility, Ben, since that runs in the family, that could be coming on at some point in my life. And I'm not convinced it isn't now. But yeah, I was in the CrossFit tent and somebody introduced me to Larry. And you got to keep in mind, like, those weekends for me are like a whirlwind.
Yeah.
And I get 1,000 introductions and like, I apologize. I try to keep up. But I'm not that smart, dude. I'm not that smart. But I did remember the Phoenix.
Yeah.
I get extra points for at least remembering that, because it's a charity I really like. And, most of the nonprofits are really kind of dear to my heart. So you guys are doing good work for sure.
Stop remembering.
It's all coming back to me now. Damn it, Ben! You should have given me the heads up. So
I don't know who you've met or who you haven't met.
You should just assume that I've met everyone and then make me do some research.
I'm sorry. We like to just jump into things with no planning whatsoever. It's like, the phrase of like jumping off the cliff and building the plane on the way down. We just jump off the cliff and don't even worry about the plane.
Keeps it authentic, man.
Yeah.
I'm notorious for not doing any research. Nikki and I did a show a few weeks ago on my other show, and we had a guest on from Hyrox, and and all they said is like, hey, it's the founder of Hyrox, right? So we have this guy on, and we interview him. We have a great conversation, and during the course of the conversation, he makes some comment about the Olympics, like he's been to the Olympics, and the way it came off, it's like he's been as a spectator. So I didn't give it a second thought, no follow-up question, nothing. So when the show's over, I go to Google his name because he's German and he has this name that's hard to spell, and I wanted to make sure I was spelling it right for the show notes. And I go Google him, and he has 2 Olympic gold medals, and it quite literally says he's the world's greatest field hockey champion Germany has ever had. I'm like, man, this is so on brand for me. I've got a double Olympic, gold champion. He's got God knows how many titles. He's literally in their Hall of Fame. I got no clue, like none. Like that's how it rolls. So
You're doing great.
No, I thought I'd learned my lesson. I'd start doing research, but obviously it didn't take. So, hey, what affiliates do you own? What are your affiliates called?
Yeah, so Commonwealth CrossFit is in Somerville, Massachusetts, and CrossFit Accolade is in Arlington, Massachusetts.
How far are you guys from downtown Boston?
Somerville would be more proximal, and I'd say about 15-ish minutes. But in Boston traffic, that could be a year. It could be.
Well, I'm in Boston like 2 or 3 times a year, and I always want to drop in an affiliate, but that's always the fear. It's like you go get an Uber, and it could take you 10 minutes. It could take you 10 days.
Yeah.
We found a connection there one year. Some Uber driver just gave us our cell number. One of my peers was very young and very attractive, and he really liked her. He wasn't because of me, believe me. And anytime we'd come to town, we'd text this dude, and he'd pick us up, and he'd take us through all those back streets, and you could get anywhere quick.
Just zip around. Yeah, well, next time you're in town, let me know, and definitely happy to accommodate you having coming in for a visit.
Yeah, I'd love that. I could show your team what true mediocrity looks like. Be fun.
Yeah.
How'd you get hooked up with Phoenix?
Long story short, I had a friend that worked there before I did, and just through my network and working for the HQ, they called me up one day just to make a connection for them. Nothing to do with actually being a part of the Phoenix organization itself. But after that, I just kind of stuck around, kept asking questions, wanting to help, and it led to me volunteering. And ultimately that just snowballed into me, going to work for them, just because I just continued to like everyone that I met along the way. And I wanted to add a little bit more purpose and meaning to my time, the spare time that I had amongst all the other things I got going on.
Right.
But yeah, I just felt the connection, and I just pursued that opportunity just to again, just add value for myself personally. Yeah.
Everyone I've ever met from the Phoenix is like genuinely kind and funny and like really energetic. Like I think there's something about people, and I don't know this firsthand. I'm just speculating. You can tell me if I'm wrong, if I am, but I have this theory that people that are in recovery or choose sobriety have a greater appreciation for life.
Yeah.
Or enjoying life, maybe.
For sure. Yeah. You definitely hear that a lot. I'm not, in recovery myself. So it's definitely, it gives me perspective to just see and hear everyone's story. And a lot of them, they're just appreciative for where they're at, right? Like, not naming any specific scenarios, but some of them are in positions where they never thought they'd be here, right? Like they right. Everything that they have right now is all new to them. And so you just, when you wake up with that every day like this, you just got a pep in your step, so.
I had, who did I have on? One of their spokesmen came on the other show. I forget his name now. This was 2 years ago.
Because you didn't do any research prior.
Which is on brand, as we found.
Yeah, no, him I remember. I mean, I just can't remember his name. It's been 2 years, Ben. Come on. I mean, like 2 years is a long time for me. But I do remember in the course of the conversation, he said one of the prerequisites for coming to a Phoenix meetings, you had to be sober for, I think, 24 hours.
48.
And 48 hours. And keep in mind, I was at the game. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm out. I spent a lot of time at that Tito's tent the day prior. For sure.
Yeah. But it's a great group of people. I've done a couple like guest seminars at their like headquarters here in Denver. They have like a really, really nice space. And yeah, they're just awesome people. And then additionally, the way that Larry and I met was for Fire Camp. So the Forging Youth Resilience Summer Camp is out here in Boulder. And Larry and I did a tag team like group workout and it was probably one of the funnest classes I think I've ever run. Like, it was so much fun. And then he did some teaching, and then also you did some teaching about like basically like how to become a coach, right? Was that
so
like the pipeline?
Yeah, so you did the skill breakdown, and then I just showed like a model, like how to run a class and the whole teaching and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I taught some people some double unders, and it was awesome. And the kids were so much better at learning and absorbing and listening than like every adult I've ever taught. It was amazing.
Dude, kids blow me away. Like when my daughters were younger, they used to go to CrossFit with me for a short while. And my youngest daughter picked up double unders in like an hour. I swear to God, when I started at 40, and it took me 6 months maybe to learn. I swear to God, she had them in an hour. She had them good. I don't mean like she was doing 1 or 2. I mean, she was doing like sets of 20, 30, like just crank. And it's, kids have this amazing ability to just listen and go, that's the way it's done. Okay, I'll do it that way. They don't try anything else. They just do it the way you tell them to do it. And it's really, if we could, I aspire to be that kind of a student, but I will never be that kind of student.
Reminds me of he's not like necessarily a kid compared to me. He's 4 or 5 years younger than me, something like that. Not good with dates, but that reminds me of the time that I tried to teach my younger brother how to do a muscle up. It was literally like I was hanging rings from my basketball hoop at my parents' house over spring break, I think, during college. I hung up these rings, and I'm like trying my darndest to get a muscle up, and like I finally got a couple. And of course, the rings are like all weird, like it's hanging from a basketball hoop. It's all weird and awkward and can't really kip. And, but like I finally got one. And then my brother Drew comes out, and he's, the youngest brother. And I always like to think that I'm more athletic and faster and better looking and smarter. Probably not smarter, but all the, important things over my younger brothers. Well, he comes out, and I show him, I'm like, yeah, so like, here's what a muscle up looks like. And I show him like kind of a muscle up, and he's like, huh. Any tips? And I was like, yeah, here's how you do a false grip, see how it goes for you. And he hits one his first time. Perfect strict ring muscle up, like without even any effort.
Oh, you mean like this?
Yeah, literally. He's like, is that right? And I was like, yes, Drew, it was right. And I was so angry.
Yeah, you broken. Yeah, he broke it.
I love it. Larry, how'd you find CrossFit?
The short of it is, so I was a strength and conditioning coach before CrossFit, and I was working at a private training facility who happened to add CrossFit as one of the programs under the same roof. So like right next door to me, while I'm training, these middle and high school kids, on the turf, there's CrossFit happening. And a buddy of mine was one of the instructors. And so without knowing what it was, I was taking classes with him just because that was our time to work out together. And then fast forward somewhere down the line, I learned what it was and then pursued this whole thing as I stand today. So, yeah.
And you're like the rest of us, you get suckered in and you just
basically.
We were talking about this over the weekend, actually, like what type of personality it takes to do CrossFit. In your opinion, like what do you, in order to like want to be drawn in and stay, like what kind of personalities do you see?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely the sporty, however you want to categorize that, right? The sporty individual, that's what got me into it, right? Like I was just out of college, I played football. And so this was like my next sport. It gave me something to train for, local competitions was my new game day. So like, there's definitely, that aspect of it. Being here in Boston, another large demographic I see is those folks who come from highly academic backgrounds and like have never been an athlete or never been called an athlete before in their life. And so like, this is like a new lease. This is an opportunity for them to go and be an athlete and learn all these skills and have a good time with something that they've never done before. They've never played a team sport. They never, felt a part of a team, right? Other than like, maybe their lab mates and classmates. So there's that demographic. The super health conscious individuals who want to do something that's gonna, change their life, change the way they look, change the way they feel. And then there's just that general group of crazies who are willing to just try anything, and they see people flipping tires and running through a brick wall and they want to do it.
Yeah, I call that's the douchebag group. That's what
So on that note, I was actually talking to a friend this weekend I was at a business conference, and he's like, hey, like I want to try CrossFit. Like, I've done some long distance stuff, but I don't know if CrossFit's going to be right for me. Like, it seems like a different, vibe than what I'm into. And I I started explaining to him the kinds of people that I've seen fall in love with CrossFit. And what's so cool is like, there is no one size fits all. Yeah, sure. You have like, you know, the crazies, the people who are like, I'm hardcore, therefore I do CrossFit. You know, like you have that maybe stereotypical mindset or personality type. But what's so fascinating is I can't even count the amount of times there have been what I would say like very shy, timid individuals that come in, and I'm not expecting them to like the class that I'm running, like based on just my like their demeanor.
Right.
I probably jumped to a judgment maybe too soon, but obviously I'm very optimistic that CrossFit's right for them. But I've seen these very like just timid, shy people, quiet, like you can't even really tell if they're having a good time, and then they fall in love with it. And that's happened with members of my family. That's happened with, you know, old members that I've had at the original affiliate that I opened. And then even like some of our best one-on-one athletes at WOD Prep, like they started off like really shy, really timid, and they've just like blossomed into, you know, they're still probably shy and timid in some public domains, but when it comes to CrossFit, like their confidence is through the roof. They're confident in themselves. They're like, look at me, like I'm making progress and I can do these amazing feats of strength and I can do these skills. It's just so cool to watch people from all different aspects of life kind of come into their own. And find a way for CrossFit to make them a better human being, whether that's more confidence, more humility, more strength, more skills, things like that. I love it.
Does CrossFit really give us more humility?
I feel like it does for the athlete. So like when I see like Larry and I both like, you know, collegiate athletes in some way, shape, or form, and it's like when you come from like I'm athletic and then try CrossFit the first time and see people absolutely annihilating your scores and your times, that to me was the perfect breeding ground for like it was like I was humbled by the fact that I was not doing as well as I thought I should be. So it like, you know, I thought I was really fit, but then CrossFit showed me I wasn't nearly as fit as I thought I was. But then it was also like the fire under, you know, my butt to get going and you know, use it to compete and to get really fit. So like for me, it was like very humbling in the beginning because I was like, holy crap, I'm way out of shape compared to what I thought I was.
I mean, I see your point. I'm just like when I walk into a CrossFit gym and I see it packed full of shirtless people lifting heavy weights, my first thought isn't, man, look at all these humble, just full of humility. I never think
temporarily humbling.
Yeah. No, I get your point though. I can see that. I mean, I didn't come from an athletic background, so I guess, you know, I'm missing out on that experience. Like, I mean, I am humbled by the things that I can't do, and there are quite a few, but it's a different type of humbling, maybe. What's your experience like at your affiliate, Larry? I mean, you got two, so you know, do you find major differences between the two, and how you have to coach those athletes, or you know, are our gyms becoming so standardized these days? They're more cookie cutter.
Yeah, it's such a machine, man. They're all, no, I'm just kidding. They're definitely different for sure. Speaking to my personal experience, like my gyms are in two different towns, and the demographic and the makeup of those towns are so different that it dictates a different audience within each gym respectively. My Somerville gym, as I mentioned, the one closer to the city, happens to be more proximal to some of the academic, you know, campuses, like right at the back door of Harvard, and, you know, MIT and Tufts is not too far. And so, you know, we'll get a younger population, we'll get folks in kind of that secondary, you know, higher education range, you know, and so with that, a little bit more.
A bunch of dumb jocks, you know, Harvard, you know,
let's say some
MIT, like you're kind of getting like, oof, man, really dumb people in there.
Yeah, you know, we always joke that, like, you know, my gym's like solving world problems. Like they're going to be, you know, they're definitely taking us to the next stage where it is in life.
Do MIT students have the same problem counting 21, 15, 9 like the rest of us?
Honestly, yeah, they do, because that intelligent part of their brain, when they walk through those gym doors, for some reason just gets left outside, and now it's what are we doing? But yeah, so a younger, you know, vibrant demographic, and so like the vibe and the energy of the place is much different. You know, the social activities, the workouts themselves, just how people look and feel and carry themselves. And then Arlington is in a suburb, so it's a much more mature demographic. These are people that have kids and grandkids, and you know, they own their houses and have lived in this town for forever, and so these folks most of them didn't even know what CrossFit was and had never heard of it. They just came because this gym opened close to their house, and that was all they knew. But they stayed because they loved it from the community standpoint, and it's an opportunity again for them to move and just feel better about themselves. So, much more intentional about how we create relationships with those folks to keep them coming back, because they're not tantalized by the heavy barbell. They wanted to meet people that they can connect with that would bring them back. So definitely some contrast there for sure.
So talk to me about that. When you're saying you're trying to create this experience for them, is through the programming or the coaching?
From the top down, everything. So both gyms follow the same programming, but for a while, the newer Arlington is actually, only about 2 years old. So it was in its infancy, and Commonwealth is 11 years old. And so there's definitely like an established culture, and the level of ability of the athletes was much higher. So in the onset, they had separate programming, and we were trying to gradually introduce new skills and technique to the newer gym. And, we were changing the prescribed loads for things and things of that nature, right? Like going with medicine balls and dumbbells before we got to heavy barbells. Right. And so now they follow the same programming, but when we talk about intended stimulus and we introduce the WOD and that sort of deal, like that language is a little bit different, a little bit more relative to the demographic, respective to the other location. And, we really emphasize with regards to our teaching progressions, trying to keep things simple and allow them to just move without having to think too much, so that they can continue to enjoy themselves and not be defeated by so many faults in their movement, right? Like, because there's still some good stuff happening there, as they come in and move through that hour. So it's just a little change in our approach in terms of how we introduce and how we teach these workouts that makes all the difference for them.
We were just talking about this weekend at the gym. Me and my I own an affiliate here in Cleveland, and we were tossing around some ideas, and we've been talking about bringing on Hyrox programming. To bring in kind of an additional demographic, because I am firmly in the camp that you should not water down CrossFit programming. Like, I'm not going to change CrossFit to bring in more people. CrossFit is CrossFit. If you want to bring in more people, you can offer other things, yoga, Hyrox, whatever, and kind of do separate things, but you still have to do CrossFit. How do you do that for, we're talking about this kind of elderly or older group, and I'm going to be cautious with say elderly because I'm afraid you're talking about my age. But like, how are you?
Elderly is 40 and above, right?
40 and above, yes. Totally elderly. You're right, Ben. How do you do that though without watering it down?
Yeah. The short of it is meet them where they are, right? Like they have things that are going to, solicit that gratifying response, for them relative to what we get. Like if I hit a, PR on my snatch, I'm jumping up and down. If they are able to get a 12-inch box jump, they're happy, right? Like, so we got to make sure we understand what their goals are and meet them where they are in terms of acknowledging the successes that they're achieving. So like I said, if an individual is struggling with the snatch, I may celebrate that they have the proper grip and technique and setup for the movement as opposed to how the movement ended, right? And they feel accomplished versus me beating them down with, again, the faults that occurred along the way, right? So just it's more of a relationship, psychological thing that you want to, kind of bring to that experience as opposed to, and again, I'm obviously not saying to disregard technique, because that's still important, because we're prioritizing safety for sure, right? Especially with this population. But just, the things that we celebrate and the things that we prioritize, like we make some small tweaks there. And these folks, again, want to pick up their kids. They want to carry their groceries. They want to, go on hikes on the weekend and be active. And so we just relate the experience that they're getting in the gym to how it can benefit those activities elsewhere in their life. And they buy in and they see the benefit there and they continue to go for it. And not for nothing, there's a carrot. They see the folks who can do muscle ups and walk on their hands and things like that. And they laugh and they're like, oh my God, I'll never be able to do that. But it's fun for them to try because it's something new that they've never done before. And as long as they're not getting hurt, they're having a great time chasing after those, those accolades, but still understanding where they are relative to, their overall fitness and what their goals are.
I'll say it's all fun and games till Nana breaks her hip.
That's what I say. Yeah, we're definitely conscious of that.
Yeah, I've been trying to get my Gammy to learn handstand walks, but for whatever reason, she just won't try it.
She's lazy, man. She needs to work harder.
She's so lazy. Come on, Gammy.
You use all the WOD prep lingo on her. You're like, come on, Gammy, do hard things.
Yeah, do hard things.
That's it,
man. That's how do you get your coaches like on? I mean, you're just one guy, two gyms. How many coaches do you have?
Yeah, so we got 14 total combined between the two locations, and I'm a very coach first guy. When I bought Commonwealth CrossFit, everyone kind of asked what the vision was, what things that I see that I would change, and that sort of deal. And the first answer for me was the culture around the coaches. I wanted to make sure that we had team cohesion. I wanted to make sure everyone understood my vision and was on board with that vision and saw how they fit into that vision, because it's from the top down. It starts with me and my transmission of culture and knowledge to them, and then they can go and run a great class, and then the members benefit from that. So it's kind of that collective. So the short of it is that I'm very intentional about my interactions and contact with my coaches. We have regular one-on-one check-ins, and these are unrelated to the gym. And I make it a point when we pick up that call that, hey, this is about you and your kids and your life outside the gym. I want to hear how you're doing. I want to hear what's going on in your world. We got plenty of time to talk about gym stuff elsewhere. So there's that un-gym related check-in. Then we have regular coach development that happens. So that's where we're, talking shop, technique, seeing and correcting drills, that whole deal, teaching progressions and whatever else may be, kind of at the table. And then aside from that, just the social activities, the engagement, being present for them, taking their classes. I'm actually just getting back from the gym now because I had a coach who wanted to go a little bit deeper and seeing and correcting. And it was a bit of a struggle to do all that while running a class. So I met with her for another coach's class where she didn't have the responsibility of coaching, and she and I could just stand off to the side and go through some things and talk about what we were seeing and give her some tips, and that was a better learning environment for her. So I make myself available for things like that, and that helps.
What's the hardest part of running a gym in Boston? Is it the mice or that horrible accent that people have?
Man, honestly, it's all the hard AI sounds. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
no,
it's terrible.
No, it's not the accent. To be honest, and this isn't a Boston thing. I think a lot of people experience this. Staffing is my biggest headache day to day. Like if nothing else, like if without staffing, I could wake up every day and be happy, and the gym was going well, and the product is good, the program and the members are happy, the coaches are happy, but it's a transient thing. People come and go, they get their degree, they graduate, they move, they buy a house, they move, they have kids, they move, whatever, right? Like I'm always losing people. And to keep a pipeline of coaches or find coaches that are professional coaches and stay and are in this industry and can contribute and commit to the community, it's tough. And there's a lot of people who want to be in this industry, but there aren't always opportunities that afford them, the perks of a livable wage or the benefits that they need to take care of themselves and their family. And so it's hard to get good talent and to be able to provide enough for them to stay and not just be a part-time coach and be able to invest more in this.
Well, the days of paying people $8 an hour and free fit aid are over.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's so difficult to it's hard for a coach to make a career out of CrossFit coaching if it doesn't involve owning part of the gym, right?
Yeah.
Because it just the finances of owning a gym make it extremely difficult for the gym owner and let's say an entire team of coaches to have full livable wage.
Yeah.
Because yes, I know CrossFit gyms are expensive, but realistically, we don't have that many members compared to these mega gyms that can staff, full-time people and, management positions and stuff like that. So I think that's maybe a common misconception that people have is that CrossFit gyms make a ton of money and they can really afford to pay their coaches well. I always wanted to pay my coaches well. I thought we did, but it still is hard for us to meet the demand that, a younger person comes in and says I want to make a career out of this. It's there's really not much upward momentum within a CrossFit gym, or at least most CrossFit gyms, unless they eventually become an owner or unless, they open up their own gym or something like that. So it's really hard. I remember that being a very, very tough thing, back when I had my affiliate too.
Still. Yeah, I don't want to unglorify the position because obviously I love what I do, but it's not a super, super cash flow positive business, right? And a lot of gyms, there are definitely obviously exceptions on both ends, but a lot of gyms in that middle ground are going to have enough cap space for one, maybe two salaries. And usually that's the owner, right? And maybe a head coach or GM. And then if not, it's rolled up in the owner's salary. And so you can't accommodate, to your point, someone else having a full livable wage. You can get someone an entry-level position, right? Like there's an entry-level salary, there's room for that. But to your point, as they mature within your business, there's not a lot of cap room to bump that salary up as they climb that ladder. And to your point, the only way out is to become partner, owner, or go, open your own and be that person.
Right. Or that's where you see like a lot of these like hybrid models where it's like they have this huge PT roster or something like that. But yeah, man, it's tough. And, it's not a deterrent, not necessarily a complaint. It's just like, it's really hard, but I totally respect what you said earlier about wanting to find like professional coaches, because for a lot of small gyms, this is all they can do is they have a couple members that are really eager about CrossFit. They get their level ones and they're like, perfect. Todd, Larry, Billy, you're coaches now, and they're like, oh, cool. Yeah. And that's fine. And it actually does work really well in a lot of places. But I was always in the mindset of like, I really wanted to find people who like wanted to be coaches, not just like I want to coach for a free membership. But it's a catch-22. It's very difficult to find a career oriented coach, because it's very hard to make a long-term career in a CrossFit gym without him.
I just listened to a podcast on this with Don Fall, CEO of CrossFit, and one of his main tenets was they're trying to figure out, how can they help affiliates ramp up quicker, understand how to make more money. And I have been toying with the idea of doing a short podcast series on one of these two shows. I do banking in my real life and teaching people like revenue and expenses. It's because, to your point, I'm not convinced most CrossFit gyms can reach what we want to obtain, which is, to your point, highly trained, highly skilled coaches that make a livable wage. Like, unless they take on different revenue streams. You have to bring on revenue streams outside of just growing membership, because there is for the most part, most gyms, I think, have a cap on how many members they can run, because you need a certain number of coaches per member. And the more coaches you bring on, the more your expense line is going up. And it becomes harder and harder and harder, not to mention you need more equipment and more everything, So I do think if gyms can find ways to bring in other revenue streams, whether it's nutrition coaching, whatever kind of sales, bringing on different types of training. Ben, you mentioned PTs, like there's a lot of different things they can do to help generate that revenue in the off cycle, because most gyms are effectively closed certain hours of the day.
Right.
Like if you can figure out how to do that, you can make it work. But there's just I think the average member looking in just goes, oh, Larry's got it good. He's got 2 gyms. He's raking in the cash.
People run the math. They're like X amount of members. Here's how much it is per month, and it's like equals Larry makes this much money.
It's like, that's not how. Definitely not how it works. I still got to wake up and put my pants on and go to work every day. Otherwise,
it was funny when I bought my affiliate or bought into it. I have 2 partners, and literally the first day I like signed the paperwork, and my partner calls. She's like, "Hey, the toilets are backed up." I'm like, "Damn, this is a real job." Like,
welcome to affiliate ownership.
Like day one, I'm like, "This sucks. Give me my money back."
Full.
Like, man, that is no fun.
Do it because we love it, though.
Well, I would imagine that your coaches, do they feel extra stress because you're on seminar staff, or is that just a huge value add for them?
No, it's definitely a value add. And I think that comes from just my relationship with them. Like that could definitely be, a tense relationship if it's like strictly transactional, strictly authoritative, but like I try to make it that we're a family. And I think from that, they appreciate, what I do outside the gym, and they know I'm only bringing this stuff back to better them and to contribute more to our community, and they appreciate that. So it's actually a really good working relationship in that regard.
You should sell like back alley L1s. That'd be a good for you. It's like fake IDs.
The L 0.75.
Great.
I remember. So I actually was on the opposite end. I was a coach at a gym that had a red shirt. So I was one of the coaches at Christmas Abbott's gym, CrossFit Invoke in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where I started CrossFit effectively, and also started coaching. And I still remember how nervous I was. Admittedly, Christmas can be a little intimidating sometimes.
Yes,
but deep down, like, you knew that she was just trying to make her gym better because it was her name on it and her image, but also she was always like really, really pouring into me and the other coaches and just trying to make us better. And without her input and without like her red shirt knowledge of like how to run a class effectively from start to finish and seeing and correcting and cueing, verbal, tactile. What's the other kind of cue, Larry?
Visual.
Thank you. Like teaching us all these different things. Oh my gosh. Like, I can confidently say it's the only reason that WOD Prep probably exists today. And it's because she poured that time and energy into developing me and then was like, be free, go. And then I had to leave and then I opened my own affiliate and the rest is history. So it's like Larry is, changing lives here, not just on the athlete side, but also on the coaching development side. So it's probably a really big perk for his coaches. And if they don't know that, they should.
Yeah. And there's something to say about the delivery of it all too. And back to your question, John, and to your point, Ben, like when I was interning and becoming a professional coach, like I spent time with like Austin and Denise and that whole crew at Reebok, right? And so to your point, Ben, I was super nervous when I was doing all this. Like I was dry and cotton mouth the whole time. Like every day I was under a lot of stress and a lot of pressure to, reach the expectations of these folks. And like, I wanted to be like them. And so like, there was a lot of pressure there. And so when I had the opportunity to share my knowledge and experience with others, I knew and took into account what I felt. And I tried to do the little things to diminish those feelings for them while still delivering the content in an effective way. So I think that helps too.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm watching your class and you're going to make mistakes. Like, just know you're going to make mistakes. So if you stumble over a word, it's okay. You're not getting fired. It's just like, oh God, the pressure is on. That's awesome, man. I love it.
And you were with Austin. That dude's intense.
Yeah.
Yes, dude. He's coming on my other show here in a couple of weeks.
Oh, nice.
I'm already nervous.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. Like I was, on some being on seminar staff. Like we work with a lot of different people in a lot of parts of the country, and so, I'd travel somewhere outside the Northeast, and they'd be like, "Oh, like where you coming from?" And I'd be like, "Oh, Boston." And they're like, "All right, listen, we're not doing the Austin thing out here." Like it was just like his reputation precedes him. Like where you go places. But no, I love him. He's, he was one of my mentors officially through assignment at HQ, but also just a mentor on the fact that we are proximal, and I've spent a lot of time learning from him. Like I've been to his house for Thanksgiving and that sort of deal. So I credit him a lot with, stuff that I know and where I'm at, and Denise as well. Like she's probably the person I spend the most time with now. We work a lot of seminars together, and we pick each other's brains and call each other a lot on things. And so, as they say, iron sharpens iron. So while it may be nerve-wracking and stressful, like I'm happy that I have people like that I can call to learn from at this stage of my career.
Yeah. You need people in your life that are like that. Like people are going to push you to be better. Like I'm not going to blow his head up, but Ben's like that for me. Like, Ben's super knowledgeable. So I come in the show and I'm just trying to not sound like an idiot compared to like kind of his wealth of knowledge, and I've got other people in my life that way too. My partners at the gym are that way. They're both really smart and really talented. And like, you're trying to keep up most days, but you need that. Like you need people that are going to push you and make you do more, make you be better. But the trick is, if you do that, you have to be willing to give back to others.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just taking that in and not giving back to someone else, like what's the point?
Yeah, that was the trigger for me in my career. So, I mean, I kind of gave you the short version of, how I got to where I'm at with regards to CrossFit. So now that we're on this subject, like I reached out to Reebok on a whim. Like this was early in my CrossFit coaching career. Like I had just got my level 1 and I knew that there was more out there. I knew there were people that were in the game longer that knew more than I knew at the time. And I shot throwing a dart at a dartboard, a random email to the info account thinking like, they'll never get back to me. This is Reebok CrossFit One. They're the best in the world. I'm not going to hear from these people. And they got back to me and I ended up going and interning there. And I didn't know what any of this was. I didn't know about the level 3. Like, they helped me get my L2. And then when I got back from that seminar on Monday, Austin was talking about the level 3. Like, I'm not making this story up. Like he literally on Monday after the level 2 was talking about level 3. And I had no idea what that was. And so they showed me, this way to, continue my credential and further my education. And then also the possible career opportunities around it, like seminar staff and all this stuff was, and because of that, I realized how much I'd gained in the short amount of time that I spent with them because they were outside my network and were able to expose me to other things, that from that point on, I felt like I needed to make sure that I was that for someone else. And that just kind of escalated to where I'm at now, as far as my gym ownership, my involvement with seminar staff, all the nonprofit work I do and everything else. It's all been outward facing and trying to leverage what happened to me with meeting those folks and trying to provide that and be that for others.
What all certs do you have? You have L1, L2. Do you have the L3?
I do have my level 3. Yep.
Are you a flow master yet? You
not a flow master. Yeah.
My favorite one. I met Chuck once.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he's a level 4 flow master. I'm like, what the hell is a flow
master?
master?
Level 4 flow master. What?
It's like we can't talk about those things. It's no, I'm just kidding.
No.
Chuck's obviously an OG and very respected in the community. But yeah, level 3 in the CrossFit space. And like I said, outside of that, I started as a strength coach. So I went the whole, traditional kinesiology degree, CSCS route before I got into any of all this stuff. So that's where I'm at with that.
Oh, I mean, so you could do all the taping while you're at it.
Yeah. So I'm minored in athletic training, actually. So yeah, taping and treatment, that whole deal. Yeah. I spent a lot of time doing that.
And there's nothing I loved earlier in my CrossFit journey. I've been all of this because it's kind of how the show started, was us just talking about all the dumb shit we did when we started. And that was me. I had more tape on than, like, I'd come into the gym. I'd look like a mummy. It would just like every little ache, low back, shoulders, wrists. I'm making hand wraps out of it.
Yeah. I was going to say I know you had the tape hand things, that you make out of the old OG hand grips. Plus probably some really nice, like, American flag wrist wraps.
Oh, I had it all, dude.
I wouldn't be surprised if you're wearing gloves, John.
No. I never wore gloves ever. I refused to do that. And my hands are proof. If you could see my hands, you'd be like, damn, a dude has never worn grips in his life. Like, I tore for years. But I did, like, here's how OG I am. I had knee socks that had all the sayings. Bacon.
Yeah.
Literally, like,
I love how we both said it at the same time.
Bacon. Same time.
Yeah. I had a couple that said Ninja. Those were my favorite.
What shoes were you wearing? Because this will tell you when you got in.
Oh, well, of course, Innovates, the blue ones.
Yep. Blue Innovates.
Yep. I had Innovates when I started too.
Yeah. Everybody had the blue, the Smurf blue Innovates were everyone's first shoe. Like,
that's hilarious.
One rope climb and they're done.
Yeah, one rope climb, they're shredded.
They were like gold.
Yeah. Those are great shoes too. I love those. Yeah. I mean, like, when I started just prior to the Nanos coming out. Mm-hmm. And so, like, you had the only choice you had in those days were Converse or Innovate. If you wanted to choose with flat bottoms, there was nothing else. Or no, actually there was those shitty toe shoes. What are they called?
Yeah, Vibram 5.
I was about to say there's different brands, but
I had a friend that wore those, and he sounded like flippers when he was running. It was terrible. I hated those things.
But he looked cool though. So.
Yeah. Well, that's debatable.
I had Innovates too when I started, but it's funny you mentioned the Nanos coming out, because I had like I said, the buddy who got me into it, he was all CrossFit crazy at the time, and apparently the sell for these shoes was that they like mold to your feet, and so he was like putting them in the oven to like warm them up so that he could like put his foot in it, and like I was like, what are you talking about, bro? Like,
yeah, I tried that with those. It was bullshit. That didn't work. Totally did not work. And they had like 2 colors, and one of the 2 colors was yellow and black. Yeah. And I'm from Cleveland, and so you can't wear yellow and black in Cleveland. Like, is it too close to the Steelers? So I couldn't do that. They finally came out with a blue and gray pair, and I still have them, and they're great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll never get rid of them. Nanos were some of the best shoes ever made, I think. Like the Nano 2s and the 4s.
Yeah, I got
the 2s, I think, especially. That, man.
On the shelf. Yeah.
That shoe is sharp.
Yeah.
They're terrible to run in, though. So bad to run in. So bad. Oh, well, you've seen it all then. Like, I mean, you've clearly got well over the decade of experience needed for this question. Then, just your general opinion, state of CrossFit between when you started a decade ago and kind of that underground vibe that we had versus where we are today.
Yeah. It's funny. Like I talk about this a lot with people. They're like, are you getting bored? Is CrossFit tailing off? The short is that I think CrossFit's evolving and it's evolving in its capabilities and the demographic of people that it's serving. And what I mean by that is, like you said, back in the day, it was easy. It was a garage gym. You just come in and you throw down. Like there wasn't, towels and showers, and there weren't rowers, right? Like you just came in and you did the thing. And that reached its peak. You know, we got a bunch of people in just off the strength of that. And then we started wanting nicer facilities and things of that nature. And so, you know, there was a shift in what the gym looked like and what amenities they had. And that brought in a new demographic of folks. And then that kind of reached its peak. And now we're at a life cycle where we got people who've been in this community for long enough where they start to have different goals from when they began. And if we didn't adapt to catering to those goals, they were going to be, you know, lost as members. They were going to go be a part of a different community. So what you're seeing is that a lot more gyms are adding nutrition services. They're adding daycare or CrossFit Kids programs. They're adding pregnancy and postpartum training because they're trying to cater to the entire life cycle of the members and the family. And so I think CrossFit has matured and grown in that capacity, being able to provide those services, being able to market that those services are available within this ecosystem. And that's given it a new lifeline and a new longevity compared to where we started.
I love that. And, you know, like Ben's created this entire ecosphere within and outside of CrossFit. Like, I love how it's evolved to not only what you're describing in the gym, but outside of the gym, you've got guys like Ben that are brilliantly taking people and giving them skills and then sending them back to us. You know?
Yeah. I mean, my goal from the get-go was always to like, I never wanted to build WOD Prep to take away from affiliates in any way, shape, or form. It's like the affiliate does an excellent job at, you know, giving people the best hour of their day. You know, shout out to Ackerman, right? Another CrossFit level.
He'll love that.
You know, like, yeah, he'll love that. He'll gobble that one right up.
He'll clip it and put it on his show and cut everything else out.
That's literally, this will be an advertisement. Anyway, so, you know, you're trying to make it the best hour of their day. But I realized, like, as an affiliate owner, there were limitations to what I could provide. Like, I couldn't necessarily provide customized services for every person in an affordable manner on top of their, you know, or included in their membership. So I realized, like, hey, what WOD Prep can do is help the CrossFit Kool-Aid drinker, like the person who's like, wow, I really like this, and I'm going to actually go seek more information to get better at it, which isn't everyone. A lot of people just go on, they get their workout, they leave, right? But for the people who are like, you know what, I really want to learn this thing, and I'd like to go the extra mile to learn it. That's where WOD Prep comes into play. It's like, we give them the cues, we give them some ideas, some coaching, some programming, and we tell them to, like, make sure they ask their affiliate owner for permission to maybe do it off to the side or do it as a part of the warm up or something like that. And then it hopefully enhances their experience. It's like a seamless experience with the affiliate owners rather than something that's butting heads against it. And I think that's really important because, like, ultimately, if affiliates die in any way, shape, or form, CrossFit dies, because that's like that's where the magic is. Yeah, it's a great methodology, and yeah, people do it at home in their garage gyms and have a great time, you know, with friends and family. But, like, really, the affiliate model, that is where the magic is. So I've always wanted to build something that can continue to support that affiliate model.
I'm always amused by this kind of mindset I hear within the community occasionally that CrossFit is getting too soft. You know, like when we started, I don't know what it's like for you, Larry, but Ben talks about this all the time. Like both of our first workouts were like, oh, you didn't puke? What? You didn't puke? Do it again.
I did puke.
In Ben's case, he did puke.
First three.
But that was the mindset then. Like if you weren't puking or close to puking, you weren't intense enough. That was all they cared about.
Bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, you know, like to your point, we're talking about postpartum training and elderly people and, you know, and so there's this kind of undercurrent I hear within the community that CrossFit's gotten too soft. Is that the evolution we're talking about? Do you think we are getting too soft at times?
No, I don't think it's soft. I think what you talked about is still there. Like there's that element of it, you know, for the folks who are in it for the sport and folks who may be a little bit more competitive just within their own gym and in their classes, like that CrossFit is still there. But what you're seeing is that there are now multiple lanes that people are walking in to do their relative version of CrossFit. And that's the big takeaway, is that it's relative. And that's what we preach. That's the methodology. That's what we teach at the Level 1 seminar. And so there needs to be an appreciation and understanding of that aspect of it.
I think the coaches have gotten better too, quite a bit better. Like
Yeah.
People understand the methodology, but thanks to people like Ben, to be honest, like teaching people how to be better coaches. And my first coach, I'll never forget this as long as I live. I was my first year of CrossFit. Keep in mind, I'd never worked out in my life. I was not the physical specimen you see today, Larry. Right? And
not the Greek god.
Yes. And we had kettlebell swings. and I had the little blue kettlebell, which is what, 26 pounds, maybe something like that, and baby blue, and it was killing me. I was out of shape, and my coach, who was, I mean, he was a games athlete. The dude was super fit, and had the ego we were talking about earlier. Like, looks at me, shakes his head, walks over, gets a heavier kettlebell, walks over, takes my kettlebell away, and makes me do the heavier one. And damn near injured myself. Like, I look back on that now and I'm like, if I'd had the courage to tell him to go screw himself, I should have, because that's not good coaching. It's I hate to use the term bullying because it isn't that, but it's kind of what it is. It's like, here, like if he had sat me aside and said, all right, we're going to slow you down and do good form, and I'm going to make you use the heavier one, but it's going to be in a more controlled environment, that would have been good coaching, not in the middle of a, workout where we're all trying to get it done in 4 minutes and go puke after.
It was probably a 38-minute Metcon or something like that.
Well, it's probably 4 minutes for everyone else, but 30 for me at the time. Ben, so
I think, John, what's happening is just like Larry said, it's evolving, or I would say maybe it's maturing, right? Like CrossFit is maturing, where back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s, back when I started, it was like CrossFit was like the eager teenager trying to prove himself and like show everyone how awesome we are, and I know that's not for everyone, but it was like, that was the perception. That's why I liked it, because I was like, oh man, it's just so hardcore, it's cool. But now CrossFit is like, I tell everyone, it's like CrossFit is so approachable. Like I just had brunch this morning with my aunt and my uncle. They're both mid-60s, and they still go to CrossFit 5 days a week. The CrossFit gym that I originally founded, that has now been sold a couple times, they still go there like 5 days a week. And it's because the methodology is sound and it makes them fitter people. They enjoy it, but they didn't come into CrossFit trying to be super hardcore. They came because I promised them that it was an approachable fitness methodology that can be scaled to anyone and everyone to get a great stimulus. And that's what it does. And it does it over and over again. So I think it's just it's a maturity thing. And I think maybe the perception of CrossFit getting softer is more of just CrossFit as a business and as like a community trying to be more accessible to the people that it can change lives for, right? Exactly. Like if CrossFit has this crazy hard shell of like all we do is forge elite fitness, and if you're not like one notch below Navy SEAL, like you're worthless. Like if you're not running into burning buildings, you're not cool enough. It's like that no longer exists, because CrossFit can help so many more people than just the blowhards that want to do really hard things all the time and tell everyone about it, right? It like CrossFit can help everyone. So I think the perceived softness is more of just like, hey, no, like we're just making this accessible for the people that it can help.
Yeah, it's growth and expansion. Right before you made that comment, that's literally what I was thinking when you were talking about your parents. I'm like, think about how much smaller this community would be if we didn't cater to those demographics, right? Like if it was so exclusive that it was just the hard-nosed folks, right? Like this community would be much smaller, and we wouldn't have any of the stuff that we've been able to take advantage of from being in this community because of that.
And with that podcast I listened to the other day with Don Fall, he said there are 2 million CrossFitters. That seems like an absurdly low number to me. Think about it, like 2 million. That's just not that many. Now I know they're just basing that off an average of what they think the affiliates have, because they don't truly know. Let's be honest, like they don't really know. And I'm sure there's, let's be generous and say there's 2 million more out in garages and doing other things. It's still only 4 million.
Right. It's a teeny tiny market, and the only way that it's going to hit the he wants to keep growing it. The only way it's going to hit those metrics is by making it more accessible. Right? Like that's what's going to get people. You still have to have the top, right? Like the CrossFit Games on television actually does help people get into CrossFit gyms, even though a lot of people don't think it does. Like you still have to have that. Like, holy cow. It's not like people watch NBA basketball and they're like, well, I'm never going to play basketball. Like, do you see what LeBron James does? Like, no way, I'm not going to play basketball. It's like, no, people realize it's like, I can play that. So I'm really excited to see. I hope that it's not dying in any way, shape, or form. I hope it's not flatlining. Like, I think we've had, the snow globe has been shaken the last few years with various changes in ownership and politics and various, things like that. But I'm hoping that like once the dust settles, we just continue that forward momentum, and with accessibility, and having like HQ, have their head on straight, which I really do think it seems like everybody is really gelling over there. I'm hoping that we're just moving in the right direction, man. Stoked.
What do you think about these partnerships they're bringing in? I'd be curious as your thoughts as affiliate owner. Specifically, Chipotle is the one.
I knew you were going to say that.
Everyone's been touching on. There's been a lot of manufactured outrage around that one. In my opinion,
I knew you were going to say Chipotle. I'm going to be honest. My first reaction was I was pissed because back when I started CrossFit, like Chipotle is like all I ate, like all day, every day, like all 3 meals. And if there was some way, shape, or form I could have benefited from this partnership back then, I would have loved and appreciated it.
Right.
Now I'm retired and I don't work out like that anymore, and I don't have a chance to get to that level. So I was pissed that Chipotle came in this late in the game.
Too late.
It's funny. I had a conversation with a gym owner who was pretty upset about Chipotle being a partner. Long story short, like it could be worse, right? Like it could have been a Snickers bar or some sort of, gross sugary product that's not good for the people. With the right intention, Chipotle is a place that we can go and eat in a way that corresponds with the fitness that we seek and, what we're doing. So I don't think it's, a terrible thing. I don't think it's the end of the world that Chipotle is here as a partner. And so hopefully, some people can have their eyes open to what this really is. And it's not necessarily just a money grab.
Yeah. I think you got to pick your battles too. It's like, man, for people who are freaking out about a Chipotle sponsorship, it's like we're putting the cart before the horse here, right? Like overall calorie reduction and increased activity levels. Like those are the things we're working on here. Not does this restaurant cook with a specific kind of oil that may or may not sort of give some people inflammation. It's like, come on, guys. Like I just think everyone's going to complain about something, but like there are bigger fish to fry here. Or to cook, to grill, because of CrossFitters. It's like this is not the battle to fight, I don't think. But everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I'm just like, yeah, okay. A lot of people love Chipotle, and personally, I can go eat Chipotle quite frequently and take care of my macros really well, and I feel fine. And I know that's not for everyone, but works great for me. So
it doesn't bother me at all, not even a little.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, I'm like you, Larry. I love Chipotle, love it. Like, I was talking, and I talked to my doc. One of my partners is a doctor, and so I'm a curious guy. I'm like, what do you think about this? Like, everyone's bitching about the seed oils, and he just rolls his eyes. He's like, it's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. And I want you to keep in mind, he works for CrossFit Health, so he's like ingrained in the system.
So can we cut this up and get an endorsement from Chipotle?
Maybe.
Yeah. All I want is just my guacamole to be free for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I don't even need the Chipotle money.
It's like, no, it's not $2 for me, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, we don't need a Chipotle sponsorship. I just, give me free guac. We're good.
Yeah. Let me get double chicken without without side eye and charge.
Yeah, like a wing double chicken. Yeah.
I think back, we're OG, so this will resonate with you. Like, I think back to when we started, and in those days, it was all paleo. That's all anybody said, right? Now, there's no gripe on paleo. Paleo is not a bad diet, but it's not for everyone.
Right.
It's not. And neither is keto, which was Greg's thing. Like, I went to those CrossFit Health seminars. Greg invited me to a couple, and I heard the sermons, and it was all about keto, all of it. Again, nothing wrong with keto. I put my parents on it at one point, but it's not for everyone.
Right.
And that's the point. Like, there is no one size fits all, and any nutritionist worth their weight will tell you that, And so I think, Ben, you said it perfectly. Reduce calorie restriction and get some exercise and get people to eat healthier and exercise. That's the magic formula, man. And I think people are smart enough that when they get into CrossFit and they really get into it, they're going to go kind of like you did, Larry. Maybe I don't need this 3 times a day. Maybe I'll do it a couple times a week in moderation. And the rest of the time, I'm going to adjust my diet to something that makes sense for how I'm working out. And the needs of that are different based on the individual. The grandparents you're training in Boston certainly shouldn't be eating, 100 grams of carbs at every meal because they got their next big wad coming up. They're going to have a much different calorie load than Ben does, who probably eats 10,000 calories a day of ice cream and doesn't gain an ounce. It's just,
Solid.
Yeah. I hear you still do it.
I tried that diet once. It actually worked when I was younger.
It works. It works with the proper movement. But I think like kind of going back to like, just got to pick your battles. It's like, yeah, there could, every single sponsor probably of CrossFit has some ethical snafu that we could like really get angry at or something like that. Like, where does Rogue Fitness get their medal from? I bet it's bad, right. Like, but we're like, what are we battling here? I think as CrossFit, there's nutrition elements. Obviously, it's very, very important. It's the foundation. But we're battling sedentary lifestyles, right? If we can like get people to move more, a lot of those dominoes start falling. So I would rather like, let's battle the people sitting all day. Let's battle people not moving. Let's try to get people moving more, because if we increase that movement, I think we're getting everybody in the right direction. When people start going to affiliates and they start, like, I remember when I started CrossFit, Christmas did a food journal log for me, and she's like, I want you to log everything you eat for a week. And I logged it, and she literally responded with laughter. Like, one of my food submissions was 2 pints of Ben and Jerry's and a pickle. Right, like that's what I ate before my workout. And like,
pregnant? Sounds like you were pregnant.
Yeah, I had two pints of Ben and Jerry's, and I was like, I'm so hungry. And then I just ate a pickle because I was out of food, because I'm in college, and because it was buy one get one free Ben and Jerry's. And like,
I thought it was gonna be buy one get one free pickles. So.
No. I get the high dollar pickles. But it just like, I wouldn't have any nutrition knowledge if it wasn't for getting into the affiliate. And then like slowly she's like, maybe you should stop eating this and try eating this. So it's like, but I wouldn't have that if I wasn't just in the gym wanting to move. Yeah. So once we get people into the affiliates, I think then we can, start to worry about their Chipotle order. But
like I said, if it was like some like grease trap, like I'd have a much different perspective on it, right? Like something that didn't have an option for people to eat healthy, but it does. So
I think people view that that company as a healthy option, and particularly people outside of fitness, and those are our people. Those are the people you want to see our brand next to them, because then they might come try us. Like that's what you're trying to find like-minded people. And it's kind of like politics. Like, we all agree on some things, we all disagree on some things. This is no different. Like, I disagree with some of the stuff Chipotle sells. I don't buy it, but there's a lot of stuff they make that I love, and I'm going to eat it. Like, it's kind of simple. I don't go places that I like every single thing on the menu. That's just the way it is. So, I hope it works. I hope it brings in people. We'll see. I don't know. They're smarter than me. What's as we get close to wrapping up here, Larry, what's next for you and your affiliate? What do you have coming up?
So we're, like I said, we're big in like the community and social events. So we're getting ready to have a spring formal in April. So we get to dress up and like we're going to prom in high school and do that whole jig, and so that's super fun. But obviously we just did the open and the whole Friday night like gig and everything around that. We had an in-house competition right before the open that we do annually. I'm bringing in a friend of mine who runs an online fitness brand, and she's going to do some in-person yoga for us, which is awesome. Our members love being able to stretch and do that. So we got a lot of little one-off community events going on. So exciting stuff.
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
Ben, what about you? What do you have coming up? You're on mute. You got to hit the mute button. There you go.
Sorry. I like to practice my turkey calls when you guys are talking. So
that's good.
My turkey calls, because what's coming up next is turkey hunting. That's my big one. Going to Nebraska in the middle of nowhere for some turkey hunting. Still training hard at CrossFit Coda, because kind of like what we were talking about earlier. I just love the community up there, and their iron definitely sharpens my iron, because those guys up there that I try to keep up with are so fit. But I've really, really had a good groove with training lately, so I'm enjoying that. And then just keeping up with Ted Lasso episodes. That's pretty much what I've got going on.
New season. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
How about you, John?
Yeah. What about you?
Well, I'm finally healthy and not coughing my brains out, which is very encouraging. I have a fundraiser coming up through the affiliate. We try to find charities to work with, and we have 2 adaptive classes in our gym, and so we've chosen a charity called Dylan's House, and it's an autism charity.
Okay.
And we're going to do a fundraiser for them over the next 6 to 8 weeks online. And then basically every dollar you donate, I'm going to row a calorie on the assault rower up to a full marathon. So we're capping it at the full marathon because I'm not doing more than that. Like it will literally kill me. But we thought that'd be a good thing to do. Like, our adaptive classes are mostly in that intellectual division. So we have, Down syndrome, autism, have a few that are deaf, some of those things. And so we thought it'd be nice to give back into that community and to do something a little different, find a charity that's not, locked and loaded in CrossFit, like something that's local and, that would really benefit kind of our local community. So that's what's next for me, training for that. And then Ben and I are going to go head to head on the assault rowers at the games in August, give him his chance for redemption from when I beat him at Wadapalooza.
Nice.
4 seconds.
I can't wait to poison him.
All right. The whole ice skating thing all over again, huh?
Yeah.
I got no shot at winning that head to head. Let's just be honest. Like in a gauntlet style scenario, I knew that was my best shot at glory, and I'm going to take it, and I'm never going to let Ben live it down. But in a head to head, when it's the only thing we're doing, let's be honest.
I don't know, John. You have a size advantage. I'm not going to. Don't play these mind games with me.
You're 20 years younger than me, dude. Come on.
Play these mind games with me.
I don't care how much taller I am. I am 20 years older than you. You could be my kid. Come on.
You had 20 more years of hard training to prepare for this event. So you're
I've clearly been doing that. You can tell by physique, I'm sure.
You had 20 years of vertical growth.
Yeah. I'll be the referee that event.
Perfect.
You coming to the games? You're going to be there?
I'll be there. Yeah.
So yeah, all right. You can come. You can come judge it. That'll be fun. I want Larry behind me throwing up his hands when I'm down to 10 meters or whatever.
Yep.
Give me one of those.
There you go. Got to make it look good too.
It's gonna be perfect.
On one knee.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining, Larry. Super fun. Sorry, I forgot who you were.
No, it's all good.
And Ben, great seeing you as always, man. For everyone joined, we appreciate you guys joining tonight, and we will chat with you guys soon.
Peace.